So I trained in my last area. My last companion was my trainee, and she was my favorite. But it was hard because she was a Filipino, but she didn't know the language. And so to teach her and to be supportive of her, it's hard to teach someone and also be supportive and loving and all of that at the same time, because you don't want to be overbearing, but you don't want to be too slack. You want to push them to be their best, especially because I saw her potential and she's amazing. The first time that we ever really fought, she had been sick for about 2 weeks. Right in the mission, she'd barely been there for 2 or 3 weeks. And right when she got better, we had a huge rainstorm. It didn't start until we were already out, but it was raining a little bit when we left. And she was like, "Sister, I don't know, I don't want to go out today." And my trainer had been like that. My trainer hadn't gone out if she didn't feel like it. And I didn't want to encourage her to, to cater to herself, because on your mission, you're supposed to be there for other people and for the love of the Philippines and for the people that we served. And so I was like, "Sister, I'm sorry you don't feel good, but we need to leave. We need to go out and teach because we haven't taught in a couple of days." And so we went out and we had our umbrellas, and it started raining so hard and the wind was beating so hard, and our umbrellas broke because the wind was beating on us so hard. And we had already walked for about half an hour in those conditions. And she was like, "Sister, please, let's go home." She was begging me. She's like, "I hate this. I want to go home. I don't feel good. I'm cold. I just want to go home." And I have a thing with my stuff, probably because I've lost it so many times. But when it gets wet, I constantly, that's all I can think about during a lesson, walking. All I can think about is that my Book of Mormon or my hymn book or my pamphlets, they're all getting soaked. And so the whole time I was thinking, I want to go home too. I don't want to be walking in the rain. My umbrella's broken. My stuff is getting wet. But I felt very strongly that I should keep going. And I was like, "No, sister, we have to keep going." And so she stopped in this little bunk, a little bus stop kind of thing. It had a little top on it. And she stopped. And she was like, "I'm not going any farther." And I was like, "You have to, because you can't leave me because I'm your companion. You can't leave your companion. You have to come with me." And she's like, "I'm not going." And it was hard because I was like, I can't drag her, but I can't leave her. So then I was like, "All right, well, that's your choice." And so I just felt so strongly that we should keep going. And so I started walking, and I was a couple yards away, and she realized that I wasn't coming back. And so she started following me, but she was so angry with me. I really honestly thought she would never gonna talk to me again, because I was like, "Sister, are you okay?" And she was just not talking, and she was angry. So we finally got to our destination. We were teaching the lesson, and I thought it was going to be this amazing lesson that was going to be a huge breakthrough, because I felt so strongly to go, and it wasn't. It was just a regular lesson, okay, whatever. And she was so mad at me. She didn't talk the whole lesson. Anytime I looked at her, I said, "Oh, Sister Pascual, she's going to share now." She would just look at me and not say anything. So I was like, "Heavenly Father, why did you make me do this to her? I don't want to be out here soaking wet. I don't want her to be out here. She might get sick again." So I was doubting myself and doubting if I had felt the Spirit or not, because she was so angry. And by the time that was done, the rain had stopped. So we were still soaking wet, but we kept going, and we traveled for the rest of the day. And around 8 o'clock is when we were supposed to go home, because sisters aren't supposed to be out past 8. So we started going home. And she was still so angry. She wasn't talking to me. And I was like, "Sister Pascual, I love you. All I'm doing is trying to make you the best missionary. And I don't want you to have the trainer that I had, who was, hesitant and tired, because I was going home in 2 transfers. So "Sister, I'm finishing your training and I'm going home. And I don't want you to think that when you get to the end of your mission that you're too tired to work. Or, I don't want you to think that it's all about you at the end, because it's not. It's still about the people. We're still supposed to do our best." And she didn't say anything. We finally got to the apartment. We knelt and I prayed. And she just started crying. And she was like, "I just want to go home. I hate this." She's like, "I hate being cold. I hate you." She's like, "I'm so mad at you. Why did you do that to me?" And I started crying, and I didn't know why. I was like, I don't know why. I just did what the Spirit told me. We had to teach, and none of the lessons were super crazy or awesome. But that night I took all the stuff out of my bag, and it was all soaking wet. And I was kind of upset, because I hate it when my stuff is wet. And so I took out the iron, and I was ironing her Book of Mormon, because it was the one that she brought from home. And I knew it was important to her, so I just ironed all the pages. It took me like an hour and a half. And when she came out, she saw it and she started crying. And she's like, Sister Hill, I don't know why we had to do that. I was like, I don't know why either, sister, but I know that it was important. And that night, as we were praying, like, she started crying again. She's like, Sister Hill, I know why we needed to do that. She was like, I needed to learn to trust you. She's like, I needed to learn that you were following the Spirit. And then she told me an experience of, like, one of the lessons, how it had touched her heart, whatever. So sometimes following the Spirit is hard, but loving your companion is important. That's the reason we should do everything. When it comes to, like, hard things like that, I didn't do it because I was mad at her, because I wanted her to suffer or be cold or wet or to teach her a lesson. Like, I wanted to do it because that's what the Spirit told me to do. And, like, I loved her and wanted, like, and coming home, she was so angry, but instead of acting in anger myself, because I was just following the Spirit, like, don't be mad at me, like, reacting in love, like, she became my favorite companion, and we were the closest because we'd had that experience that was, like, really hard for us, but it brought us closer together, which helped me coming home, because sometimes, you know, I get in fights with my boyfriend or, like, my family, and things are harder, but, like, getting in fights doesn't always mean it's the end, or, like, you have to hate your companion for the rest of the time or hold a grudge, but always talking things out was something that I didn't learn until the end of my mission, but it was a wonderful lesson to learn, so...